Tongue piercing myths. Gonna debunk them. I'm a piercer. I'm gonna do that. Coming up next on Piercing Myths, episode number 7. For those who are new to the channel, welcome to the Body Piercing and Tattooing channel. If you're enjoying the videos, hope you find them helpful and useful, but you might not know who this guy is. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing studio, located right here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So I'm going to talk about tongue piercings today. There's a lot of myths surrounding them, and a lot of them, to be honest with you, were created by people that didn't know what the hell they were talking about, that were professional piercers, not to be a jerk and do that. But a lot of this is like myths were created probably by piercers and people that just didn't have enough knowledge, or that's what they've been taught or told. And then it just perpetually got handed down over and over and over again. So we're going to tackle roughly about 15 of them and give you all the reasons why. And then at the end, I'm going to give you kind of a little bit of what my experiences are having the piercing and talking with other clients and taking them through the process, piercing them, etc., and helping them with healing. First one is probably the one I heard the most and why a lot of people got it done in the 90s. It's going to make you a better lover. There's no truth to this. The reality is, if you are really bad at it before you get the piercing done, getting the piercing done, healing it out, and everything else, you'll still be bad at it. It makes kissing kind of interesting, but other things, I rarely, as somebody who's been with other people and has a tongue piercing and been with people that had tongue piercings and did certain things, I noticed no difference. The second one is, if you have a tongue piercing, you somehow have loose morals. Just because you have your tongue piercing doesn't mean it has anything to do with anything sexual. In most cases, most people get it done because they like the way it looks, and the way that it feels in their mouth or what have you. Just something kind of new and different. It's customizing. It doesn't mean that they're more likely to go home with you. Probably not, especially if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you've been talking to them and it's closing time and they're stalling. They're not more so because they have their tongue pierced. Boy, I painted a picture there, didn't I? Anyway. Number 3, plastic jewelry is safer and will not cause damage. This one, I have to admit that at one time I believed this until I did more research or more research came out. The reality is, and actually getting in the industry and being in the industry long enough to realize, yeah, there's not really much difference. The fact is that hard plastic is going to cause just as much erosion and problems as metal does. It might break more readily than metal jewelry will, but rubbing against your gums and everything else, which is the main problem with tongue piercings, it's going to do that regardless of what the material is. And there's no way, if you start seeing receding gums or chipped teeth or whatever, to suddenly magically put this thing in and everything's going to go back to normal. It will continue to cause the same problems it already has. The other issue of plastic is because the manufacturers are very secretive of exactly what that material is, and there's not a lot of third-party testing and verification of what the material is. It may be toxic, and it's in your mouth, and when you crunch down on it or just rubbing against things, it will slowly begin to erode, and then you're digesting little tiny slivers of plastic. As you can imagine, that is not something that is designed or should be in your digestive tract and could be dangerous, including being possibly toxic. Number 4, tongue piercings always cause damage. This is one of those subjects that we talk about quite a bit. Really, they don't always, but the risks never go away. So it's kind of a half full, half empty situation. If done correctly, with the correct anatomy, and you wear proper jewelry in it, and don't constantly freaking play with it, chances are pretty low that you're going to have enamel erosion, etc. However, because it's in your mouth all the time and you move that area around a lot, there is always going to be a risk of causing damage. So this idea that there's any way to do a piercing that will not cause damage is false. And that's increased tenfold by piercings that are done off to the side or out of the middle of the tongue, on especially people with smaller mouths, and ones that are done at the tip of the tongue or horizontally. They have more contact with your teeth, gums, and etc., so they're going to increase the likelihood of risk. Now, including with that, I'm going to have to say is, stop calling me and asking me if I'll do snake eye piercings. Stop looking for people to do them. They are terrible. They are not a good idea, and they will cause you to talk funny and probably damage your front teeth. And you're probably going to end up taking it out after about a month or so when you realize how frustrating it is to have that thing in there. I know it's cute, but the reality is it ain't cute when your teeth are falling out of the front of your mouth. Number 5, it can cause loss of taste. Now, this is one of those things that I'm going to go into the other thing we hear about this all the time. No, it doesn't. You might have numbness or, and I'll go into that again. I really believe that this sensation or opinion is, first off, there's no comparison between before you have the tongue piercing when you have it now. It's not like you can sit there right by each other and go, yeah, this makes it taste better than without the tongue. It's rubbish. I think the reason people think this is because of the swelling. It will dull out that taste buds and spread them out so it can have a less intense taste to it. It really doesn't affect taste at all. And my favorite one, if you pierce it in the wrong spot, it'll become paralyzed. No, wrong. There is not a large nerve grouping in the center of your tongue that if you sever it, it will suddenly cause all kinds of problems. There's a tendon there that we want to get in front of because it's not going to heal well if it's behind where it attaches, but no, it's not going to cause paralysis. This idea, I think, still comes back to when the piercing is where the tongue's swollen, it's expanded a lot, and those nerve endings have moved outward, so it can appear that it's kind of numb or etc. But even then, I've never seen or heard of anybody ever not be able to move their tongue because they got their tongue pierced. Now, here's the way that this could possibly happen. And that's a situation where you have a massive infection, you don't take care of it, it enters your bloodstream and into your nerve endings and causes permanent damage. You really have to create that situation. That's going to be extremely rare, and you really have to put off getting the infection resolved for a long period of time. Number 7, tongue piercings will always cause speech issues, that it'll affect how you pronounce words and etc. To a degree, yes, but for the most part, no. It's usually a temporary thing or very, very slight, and it fades over time as you adapt to having it in there. Number 8, I've been hearing this more since I started the channel than I had in years. I should not downsize your tongue jewelry for at least 4 to 8 weeks. No, there is no reason to have that jewelry in any longer than 7 to 10 days. If the swelling is completely gone and it's somewhat back to normal, leaving that longer post in is only going to increase the likelihood of you chomping down on it and damaging teeth, make your life freaking miserable because it's hard to chew and have anything in your mouth and give you a funny lisp. Also, it can cause slitting and tearing in the jewelry or rejection where it gets pulled through. It can damage the piercing because it has a lot more movement. The other thing is when you leave the longer barbell in, you're more likely to play with it. And the more you play with it, more risk of enamel erosion, more risk of damaging your teeth, gums, bone structure in your mouth. Downsize your jewelry. Number 9, all tongues can be pierced. Wrong. Depending on the person's anatomy, we try to put it directly in front of the floronium tendon, which is that tendon on the underside of your mouth that attaches it to the bottom. If that is too far forward or right at the tip, we can't pierce through that tendon. You can go see a dentist and have it clipped, and then maybe it can be pierced. But the further we move forward, the more likely you are to have damage to your teeth and gums, especially the gums on the underside of your mouth, because that barbell is going to be laying right against that and rubbing and agitating it. And that's why even the people that do these, and they do them at a really steep angle, instead of doing it at that kind of natural kind of laid back, the angle is something really, really deep, or really steep like this. That's why I don't advise doing that. Your tongue should probably not be pierced if that is the only way they can pierce it. Number 10. This one is like the magic bean one, that if it's magically done with magical tears and magical lubricant and magical this and that by a magical person called a piercer, you're not going to see any swelling. The reality is the piercing will swell almost every single time. How much swelling you see varies from person to person, but there's always going to be some swelling. So this idea that the reason why it swelled is because it was done wrong, yes, maybe that piercer caused too much trauma and that just increased the amount of swelling you see. But the reality is on most people, they all swell. That's just part of getting your tongue pierced. Then there's those ones that barely swell at all. Number 11, they are very prone to becoming infected. This is completely false. Reality is that with tongue piercings, since there's such a fast healer, healing out in about 2 to 4 weeks, the wound is not open very long, so that reduces the risk of infection very, very much. If it's done properly, you take care of it, you practice cross-contamination prevention, and have a healthy immune system, chances of you becoming infected are very, very slim, if not impossible. Now, if you do something really, really stupid, like, I don't know, kiss somebody you meet randomly in a crowd and then go out and drink like 10 gallons of river water and, lick the toilet seat at the local truck stop, yes, you're probably going to get an infection. But the reality is if you take care of it properly, use some common sense, and be healthy, you're not going to see an infection. They're extremely rare. This one I love because I used to have people call me up all the time. I even had at one point, a local piercer called up and yelled at me because I advised their client to eat yogurt while healing out their tongue piercing. This idea that dairy will cause problems during a tongue piercing, healing a tongue piercing, is completely false. There is no scientific proof that eating dairy is going to cause any issues at all. This comes from Chinese medicine, which I'm not going to discredit. I don't know enough about it to even do that, but I do know this. Dairy will not affect or cause problems with your tongue piercing. In fact, if you're concerned about getting thrush or just looking for something that's easy to eat, yogurt is fantastic, especially Greek low-fat yogurt. There's no truth to this. Drink the milk. Don't worry about it. It's not going to cause problems. Number 13, if it's done correctly and it's positioned correctly and you wear the correct jewelry, there is absolutely no risk for problems. False. Regardless of how well it's done, there's always a risk that you're going to chomp down on the barbell or constant rubbing is going to cause problems. You can only reduce those risks, and that's it. Number 14, smoking will not cause problems. Yes and no. Smoking will always increase the amount of swelling you see, and it will always increase or prolong the swelling and prolong the healing. It's unhealthy. It's not good for it. Usually it's best if you can to cut back or stop completely. It's a good excuse to quit smoking. But the reality is yes. And that kind of is one of those things where even if you're healing out an ear piercing, if you're smoking, you're probably going to see a longer healing time than you would if you weren't smoking. It is not good for you. Simple. And number 15, the last one. Tongue piercings are extremely painful. I think this comes about because people think it's going to hurt like it does when you bite your tongue. That is not how a tongue piercing feels. Tongue piercings, you're using a super sharp needle. It passes through very quickly. The hard part about getting your tongue piercing, or the uncomfortable part, in my opinion, is having someone else control your tongue, which is really weird because that doesn't happen, I guess, for everybody. Not everybody, but I'm sure there's somebody out there that, I don't know. But for most people, they never have anyone else grabbing their tongue and holding it out. It feels it can be a little anxiety driving. The other thing is you're not really used to having your tongue out of your mouth for a long period of time. It's uncomfortable. And in some cases, even when the piercing's done quickly and correctly, you can get some tightening up in this area of your of these muscles right in this area and soreness after the piercing is done. That's not uncommon. And it's just from trying to keep having your tongue out of your mouth for so long. Varies from person to person, of course. But yeah, they're not going to be as painful as biting down on it in the middle of a meal. That nothing hurts like that does. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with my own tongue piercing and other people getting it done. Biggest thing and best advice I can give you, and a little bit of advice about it, find a reputable piercer that's done a lot of these. These are a pretty common piercing. At one time, it was probably one of the most popular, if not the most popular piercing in being done. Most people have done a lot of them over the years. Find somebody that's reputable, that gives consultations, that's going to take the time to educate you on how to take care of it properly and spend that extra time. And deep down inside, let you know, just by talking to them, that they have the passion for what they're doing. Go out and get a meal right before you get it done. Go out and get something that you really like. Indulge yourself, because you're not going to be able to eat the things you like probably for the first week or two. Well, not so much a week or two, but probably at least the first 3 to 5 days. There are some people never have a problem. They can eat anything. But I have to say they're the minority. Most of us, we're kind of on a bland diet, eating stuff that we normally wouldn't survive on. So get that out of your system. Go out and have some great dinner, share with a friend, have a nice lunch, and that way you're more relaxed when you come in, and you're less likely to pass out or get lightheaded. Before you get the piercing done, stock up on simple foods and things that you're going to need for healing the piercing. It's better to have that stuff on hand than to rush around and get it. Other piece of advice is it's a good time to clear out the refrigerator of some of the things that you can't eat, just basically because it's going to suck to open that refrigerator and see like that porterhouse steak you bought 2 months ago, or the leftover pizza from the other night, and some spicy ramen. It's just best just to get all that stuff out of the way and stock it with what you're going to need, what you're going to eat, especially that first 3 to 5 days. Never change the jewelry into something of questionable quality or low quality. This can cause this piercing to suddenly have a lot of issues. Also, stay away from shaped objects, things that have sharp points. Anything that is novelty driven, like vibrating and all this other nonsense, all that stuff is garbage. It's made of substandard materials. If you have even just an inkling of a sensitivity to metal, you're going to probably end up having problems with your healed piercing. And that sucks. Number 5, I've already said this before, but always downsize your jewelry in 7 to 10 days. Do not wait 2 months, 3 months. I know some people don't want to downsize it because they get to play with the longer ones, a little easier to play with. That's one of the reasons why we want you to downsize, so you won't play with the damn thing and not even know you're doing it. Number 6, always keep the jewelry in. Tongue piercings, because it is in the mouth and you heal so rapidly, unless you've stretched it out to a large gauge like I have, where I wear a 2 gauge in it, taking it out for a couple hours could result in the piercing closing. So if you like the piercing, only take the jewelry out to replace it, or only leave it out for short periods of time, and always put it back in immediately as soon as you can. Cleaning the jewelry, it's a good idea. You can use anti-plaque mixes and etc., or not mixes, but anti-plaque rinses. That's the word I'm looking for. Those work really well. You can also take the jewelry out and with like brush and toothpaste and get it off. The plaque will usually collect on the bottom hole, or the bottom, not the bottom hole, but the bottom ball. It can get kind of gross and be kind of smelly. So it's a good idea. Clean it on a regular basis and just put it in part of your routine of your normal brushing, to just brush it for, 5 or 10 seconds just to get most of that off of there. Well, that's it. Did you have any myths that you've heard about tongue piercings that you want to debunk? Please leave a comment. Also, if you are thinking about getting this done, or you already have it, if you have some experiences you'd like to share or have questions, feel free to leave a comment. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I'd love to see if your piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.